Patricia Pasquale, Act 4, Scene 3 of Othello. In Shakespearean times, women were inferior to men and expected to be loyal to their husbands. In Othello, the two main women, Desdemona and Emilia, they have contrasting opinions about women's place in the world. Desdemona values loyalty to her husband, whereas Emilia believes women should be a little more empowered. Although Emilia appears to be more of a feminist, I believe this extract shows that she doesn't really believe in empowerment of women. She just believes that women should have the same level of power in a relationship, but doesn't necessarily believe that women need the responsibility in the relationship. Unlike Desdemona, she doesn't really believe in duty to her husband, and this is probably because of how Iago treats her. She has these contrasting opinions with Desdemona and she thinks that she's naive, partially because Desdemona, or mostly because Desdemona values her relationship with Othello so much. And the way that Emilia talks to her in this extract it's kind of condescending to show the audience that Desdemona is naive, and to bring out this part of Emilia that women like Desdemona, or women should not be as loyal to their husbands as Desdemona is. And Emilia believes in a woman's power in a relationship, but not in a woman's duty, and that's where she kind of talks down to and that's why she kind of talks down to Desdemona. For example, in the lines "No, by this heavenly light," Desdemona says, and then Emilia goes around and says, "Nor I neither by this heavenly light," when they're talking about if they would commit adultery to their husband. Desdemona says, "No, by this heavenly light," as like, oh my goodness, no, I would never cheat on my husband. And then after that, Emilia is like, I wouldn't either in this heavenly light. So she's kind of, by repeating, and she does this again when Desdemona says, "In troth, I think thou wouldst not," and then Emilia goes around and says, "In troth, I think I should." So she repeats Desdemona's Desdemona's words and style of speaking in a kind of, but she twists it to sound almost sarcastic and condescending, to talk down to Desdemona, because she's trying to enlighten Desdemona with these ideas that she has, that women should have equal power in a relationship but shouldn't be responsible for any mishaps in a relationship. And then she continues this by explaining why adultery is not that bad, because men cheat on their women, on their wives often, and then women, if they even think about turning their husband into a cuckold, it's just like this. It's such a bigger deal if a woman cheats on her husband than if a man cheats on his wife. So this perspective, the perspective throughout the whole book, is that women should stay loyal to their husbands, but then in Emilia's lines, "In troth, I think I should," and then later in terms of cuckoldry, or in terms of adultery, she's saying, "I would cheat on my husband for the whole world," and then she says, "Why, who would not make her husband a cuckold to make him a monarch?" So this perspective, this point of view that Emilia has on cheating, that it's actually worth something. It's not such a huge vice. It's not such a huge sin. This defies the expected point of view on cheating of that time period, which kind of characterizes Emilia. And of course, this is only if it's worth it, though, because Emilia, although she does come off as a very empowered woman, she still is a woman of the times, and she still holds true to the social norms, and this is seen in the lines, "Mary, I would not do such a thing for a joint ring, nor for measures of lawn, nor for gowns, petticoats, nor caps, or any petty exhibition." So she's like, these things like joint ring, measures of lawn, gowns, petticoats, and caps, these are all kind of typical things that women love. They love clothes, and they want to make like a strong house, and all these things that Amelia obviously doesn't value as much, which kind of characterizes her to which sets her apart from the rest of the women in the story. So then after she explains why adultery is really not that bad, she kind of makes a stand for women, because Desdemona's still not really, she's not changing her ideas. She still believes in loyalty and responsibility as a wife, whereas Amelia, of course, believes in power and not necessarily as much loyalty to the husband as expected. And then after she explains why adultery really isn't that bad, and after she kind of puts down Desdemona for thinking the way she does, she makes a stand for women, and she says that women are just as good as men, and that if they treat us badly, we should treat them badly too. And she levels the playing field for women and men by kind of pointing out the shortcomings of men. For example, but I do think it is their husbands' fault if wives do fall, say that they slack their duties and pour our treasures into foreign laps. So, pour our treasures into foreign laps, like, our love is our, like, for example, she's saying that a woman's love for her husband is that treasure, and then if he takes that and pours it into foreign laps and gives it to other women, she's saying that, that men cheating on their wives, like, that's just as wrong. So women should, this levels out, okay, yeah, by pointing out the shortcomings of men, this levels out the playing field for women. And she says later, she says, let husbands know their wives has sense like them. So she's saying, let men know that women are just as good as them. But then later she says, the ills we do, their ills instruct us so, which is kind of turning around and saying, it's paradoxical, because she says that women are just as good as men, but then later she says that every wrong that women do is accredited to men's wrongdoings. So she believes in equality between men and women, but she won't necessarily accept the responsibility in the relationship that comes with the empowerment. So she's strong in the sense that she believes that women should be empowered and equal to men, which is very, very feminist for the time, for the era. But she's weak in the sense that she can't be the bigger person, and if a man cheats on her, if men can cheat on their wives, she doesn't see the point that why women can't cheat on their husbands. And this is further emphasized in the syntax and the repetition of the rhetorical questions, or the syntax of the questions, and the kind of short, choppy sentences of, when they change us for others, is it sport? I think it is. It doth, and doth affection breed it? I think it doth. And so, like, they're kind of short clauses to show that she has a point, and she's taking the stand for women, and everything's kind of, like, finite and definite for her. There's no gray area if she believes that if men have these rights, that women should as well. But of course, then there's a paradox at the end where she doesn't accept the responsibility that comes with it. And the rhetorical questions in this extract also show the stand that Amelia, the point of view that Amelia has, where she asks all these questions, and she has a point to make that that men really aren't, that men shouldn't be at a higher level than women, and that they shouldn't have more rights in the relationship, that women should have equal rights. But of course, at the end, I believe that last line, the ills we do, their ills instruct us so, kind of makes it all kind of moot, because she believes in the empowerment of women, but she doesn't believe that women should have the same responsibilities, that women should be blamed for cheating on their husbands, because it's going to be the men's fault anyway. In conclusion, I believe that this extract, one, it characterizes Amelia to be a woman that's different from the typical idea of what a Shakespearean woman is like, but it also foreshadows for the events to come in regards to Othello and his relationship with Desdemona, and how Amelia will eventually stand up for Desdemona, as she does in the end of the story, but because she doesn't have the strength to take responsibility, to have that, because she has her weaknesses, the story will not turn out in favor of the women, and the men, especially Iago, because he's Amelia's husband, will end up winning this battle between women and men. But because she does take this stand, women will still have made progress.